the celebrations of our Lord Jesus Christ, but sometimes we have to note, and most key, we have to note that we have to be very careful. We have to take safety so seriously, and we have to know that what we do, it affects the other person in one way or the other. And I'm looking at our roads looking like, I'm looking at how Snarlap is building up and mounting on the very main and very key roads of this country. So this is to clearly mean that a lot of people, and a bigger percentage, are traveling to different places for Christmas festivities. What we're supposed to do is that we just need to be careful. And yesterday around Machakos Junction, that is on Mombasa Road, I saw a matatu caught fire on the carrier side of it, on top of it, where the key reason or the key cause of the fire is still not yet to be established. So this is to mean that we are overloading too much on our vehicles when going home, or when we're traveling back for Christmas festivities. To mean that we have to be careful, and we have to know that safety is very key, and we also have to be there for next year. So if we're traveling, make sure that you be very careful. And another thing we have to note this morning is that we've got a very careless drivers, matatu operators, because they're just there for the reason of them making profits and maybe hiking the charges for transport, because it is a peak season for them, and they know come January things won't be so good. So please make sure that you're not taken advantage of. Remember, this is Morning Live. You can join us through our social media platforms, that is EBN TV Kenya, and our SMS line is always 23059. And before we start off, you can send any message, you can send your suggestion, you can send any complaint, and you can comment through that. And once you see this stream, you can keep sharing more and more. And starting us off, Democracy for Citizens Party leader Rigathi Gachagua has called for an urgent comprehensive investigation into the circumstances surrounding the death of former Member of Parliament Cyrus Jirongo, urging authorities to provide clear answers to both the family and the public. Speaking during a condolence visit to the Jirongo family in Nairobi, the former deputy president emphasized that the information currently available to the public is incomplete, and what he termed as half-baked. He stressed that the need for transparent and thorough report to address concerns about the untimely death of the respected politician. Gachagua was accompanied by prominent political figures, including Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, Patriotic Front officials, DAPK's Eugene Wamalwa, Democratic Party's JB Muturi, Deputy Party leader Cleophas Malala, among others.
The stories that are being advanced are not making much sense, and I think there is need for clarity, because when I remember in 1975, J.M. Kariuki was at the Hilton Hotel, and he was called by his kinsmen, people he trusted, and he was never seen again. So Kenyans are asking, who are the last people to be seen with Cyrus Jirongo? Why are they quiet? Mostly they were his kinsmen, people he trusted, people he knew. Why are they quiet? We haven't heard them give a good account. Speaker Wetangula, he should have given a very good account. What was his plans? Where was he going? What was happening? And other people who are with him should come out and give clarity, so that the family can be settled and Kenyans can be settled. Otherwise, we want to say pole to the family, and to say that we need urgent, transparent, credible investigations, so that Kenyans can be clear. There is no foreplay, there is no monkey business.
Surely you cannot have one person making a statement. We have had several occasions where we've had accidents. We have passengers coming out to say something. I think it's deliberate also that in law you cannot have collaborative evidence with one person. I think we expect that the owner of that bus, at the center of that bus, we know the people who are in there, and at least they can come out and say what it is.
We are still recovering from the shock of his death, which was very shocking to all of us. But what is even more shocking, it's emerging that there are various versions of how he met his death. And even as we say pole to Jirongo's family, this is a matter of serious concern to the family, to the community, to his friends and relatives, and to the country as a whole.
Kwa hivyo wakati kama huu, najiunga na viongozi vile vile kuuliza Wakenya wanataka kujua ukweli. Je, hii ilikuwa ni ajali ya kawaida ama ni ajali ambayo imebuniwa na watu fulani? Ubunifu ni wa aina nyingi. Sasa hivi kutumia vyombo hivi is very easy to monitor. Sasa hivi my son knows I'm here, anaangalia tu ile app anajua niko hapa at any given time. So unaweza kutumia vyombo hivi na kupanga mambo hatari. Hatusemi kwamba hivyo ndilivyofanyika, lakini tunataka ukweli ujulikane, udhihirike wazi. Ndio wakati tukienda kumpumzisha ndugu yetu CJ, kila mmoja wetu angalau amepata kuridhika.
Kesho kuna postmortem. Asubuhi tutaweka watu wetu pale na serikali. We hope that after postmortem pengine sasa statement itatoka.
And leaders allied to the ruling United Democratic Alliance UDA party in Nyeri County have urged former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua to stop soliciting residents of the Central Kenya region to join his Democracy for Citizens Party. Speaking during a preparatory meeting for the UDA grassroots election campaigns scheduled for early next year, the leaders led by Senator Waome Wamatinga criticized Gachagua, accusing him of misleading to the Mount Kenya community and spreading divisions among the local population. The UDA officials emphasized the need for political cohesion in the region and warned against activities that could create unnecessary rivalries or fragment voter support ahead of the 2027 general elections.
Wewe ukikuja na chama yako, kuja utafute delegates. Sisi tumekuja na UDA, tumepata delegates mpaka wa Munyoro. Na hiyo ndio mashindano tunataka. Sababu mashindano sio uadui. Mashindano ni tushindane, tuendelee. Kwa nini tunapewa kutoka nje, tukuja kutafuta kuingia ndani na tuko ndani? Hatuwezi kutoka ndani, sababu tuko ndani na ile kitu tunataka tunapata. Politics is not about insults. We were in the north. We humbled ourselves, we spoke to the people, and we brought victory home. Now hao wengine wa kujipiga kifua na kuleta matusi, nataka niwaambie badilisheni mwenendo wenu. Watu washaerefuka na watu wamekata kauli, hawataamuliwa watachagua nani, ila watakata kauli yao watachagua nani.
And still moving on with the morning life, a six-year dispute between Kenyatta University and the Kenyatta University Teaching Referral and Research Hospital has been resolved following the signing of a memorandum of understanding granting medical students full access to the hospital's facilities for training. The agreement signed at KUT WRH allows KU medical students, lecturers, and teaching staff to use the state-of-the-art referral hospital for practical learning, ending years of limited access that began when the facility was opened in 2019. Speaking after the signing, KU Vice Chancellor Professor Paul Wainaina described the moment as historic, saying it marked the end of what he termed as teething problems between the two institutions. The Vice Chancellor, who is set to retire next year after 8 years on the helm, said the agreement was fulfilling milestone and that he would leave office satisfied after the long-standing stalemate was resolved.
Today is an exciting day, the day we have the two institutions leadership meeting here to sign a memorandum of understanding of ensuring that our students, our medical and other health students at Kenyatta University are able to access this hospital for training purposes, indeed to achieve what this hospital is designed to do. Medical education is critical, and medical education is competency-based. Our students cannot learn without being in the environment to develop those competencies. And therefore, the step today is very important as we actualize quality medical education for our students. Today, we signed an MOU with the Kenyatta University, that is Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital, signing an MOU with Kenyatta University, and signing other documents, attendant documents that will help in implementing that MOU, including code of conduct, terms of engagement between the hospital and the university, in order to make sure that the implementation of this collaboration is seamless. While we are signing the MOU to make sure that our students access this hospital, we are also envisaging this collaboration to be wider and broader, both in medical education but also in clinical service delivery and research services. We have already had 200 plus medical students who've accessed the hospital since 18th of August. We also have over 170 nursing students who've already started their rotations. We have others planned, so this is a continuous engagement, and with the university we are able to plan now for the numbers that will need to access the hospital at various times of their rotations, because the needs are based on the years that they are in and the rotations that they are in.
There hasn't been no bad blood between the hospital and KU. Of course, there have been what we call teething problems. And today, as a Vice Chancellor, I'm very, very happy. I'm excited that all those teething problems are no longer there. And what it means is that our students who have been missing this hospital for the last 6 years will now be able to access. It's not only the students. This hospital was built to make sure that we are producing, as Kenyatta University, quality medical doctors and officers. And because of that, we made sure that we had the best facilities during that time and even now.
And former Machakos Senator Johnson Muthama has cautioned political leaders against forming tribal-based alliances as the country prepares for the 2027 general elections, urging them to instead embrace national unity and inclusive leadership. Speaking in Kwale County, Muthama, who is also a commissioner of the Parliamentary Service Commission, warned that ethnic-driven coalitions risk deepening divisions and undermining Kenya's democratic development agenda. He called on leaders, including Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, to reject tribal politics and focus on issue-based engagement that benefit all Kenyans. The former senator observed that Kenya's political environment has increasingly been marked by confrontational rhetoric and rivalry, much of it amplified through public forums and social media platforms. He said such trends divert attention from critical national issue and hinder constructive political discourse.
Wacha niseme hivi, kabla sijaonyesha watoto wa Mwisa niwalete hapa, nataka niseme nimesikia Dennis vile mmesema, na nimesikia wanao kuunga mkono, lakini mimi msimamo wangu katika taifa letu la Kenya sio kuwa na kiongozi wa kijamii. Sio kuwa na kiongozi wa kijamii. Hii ni utoto ndoko sana. Chakula ya nyanya, hii ni ya nyanya. Na nyanya wajukuu ni hawa. Wale wengine kani huko. Alafu unataka kujitokea useme, hii chakula ya nyanya ni yetu sisi wote. Lakini unasahau uliowaambia wakae kule kando, wana macho na masikio na wanaona. Nataka niwape mfano. Katika siasa yetu ya Kenya leo, kuna wanaume sasa wamejitosa uwanjani kung'ang'ania kiti ya urais. Lakini kuna mmoja ambaye upende usipende amepita wale wengine mbio chwa na upatikani. Baka wanaotafuta na yeye watafute mbinu mpya. Sasa wewe unaenda na mmoja wao na wewe anasema na kuunga mkono na anasimama anasema mimi tumekubaliana na fulani kwa sababu tutamfanya rais. Sikia, kiti ya gavana Nairobi yetu, kiti ya seneta yetu, women rep yetu, sijui wabunge 75 ya Wiper ni 10, sijui ni Wiper au ni nini. Haya MCS sijui ni ngapi. Sasa wewe jiulize, ni mjinga gani Mkenya ataamka aende akapige kura katika sanduku namna hiyo, ambaye anajua kwamba viti imeenda na mtu fulani na watu wake? Kwanza nyinyi mkiombea Kalonzo muambie okoke na fikira. Wacha kuitisha kura kwanza. Na mimi najua hapa mtasema mwana nunji, yes. Lakini lazima mumuombea bandirike kwa fikra, ajue Kenya ni kubwa ya kuleta siasa za Kenya. Na sio kura ya Mkikuyu inaweza kumfanya rais. Sio kura ya Mkamba inaweza kumfanya rais. Ni kura za Wakenya. Kenyatta tulipompikia kura, tumepika kama Wakenya. Hata kama Wakikuyu wamepika wengi, mimi najihisi kwamba Kenyatta alichakuliwa.
Business leaders across the country have described 2025 as one of the most challenging years for enterprises, citing depressed cash flow and unfavorable government policies that have strained operations across multiple sectors. Entrepreneurs and investors attributed the difficult business environment to low circulation of money, taxation, and reduced government subsidies, factors they say have significantly eroded profitability. The situation has led to the closure of several businesses, resulting in job losses and heightened economic pressure on households. The concerns were raised during the Top Excellence Award ceremony, which brought together and recognized outstanding firms from different parts of the country. And speaking at the event, business leaders including Nyotanjema Realtor Preminas, Karaoke, Baraka Properties, Terry Muriuki, and Embu County MCS Samuel Njeru called on the government to introduce more supportive policies in 2026 to stimulate economic recovery.
Ningependa kusema hivi, nimesikia His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya akisema that we would want Kenya to transform to country to the like Singapore and Korea and other third world countries. But now, as a country, this republic needs, a lot is needed to be done. One of the things that is needed to be done is that we need to do away with unnecessary taxation, because we see that taxation is bringing down businesses. So many investors are running away from the republic because of high taxation. That is one of the things that I need, and I would request His Excellency and his government to see how they can work on it.
That's true. There are so many jobs, like, we get so many people who are looking for jobs out here. Yeah, every day on our inboxes we get like 100, 200 people looking for jobs, like literally qualified, highly qualified people who are looking for jobs, right? And as Precision Automotive, we have tried a lot. We are currently employing over 90 staff. So we have tried a lot in creating employment for the people. As such a small, upcoming, company, we have tried our level best to create those job opportunities. But I feel if there would be some sort of intervention by the government to create an even enabling environment for us, I think there would be more jobs created.
I think the issue of park fees. The issue of park fees has somehow interfered with how tourists are coming into Kenya, because when they come, they want to come for safaris. Then when they see prices have gone up all of a sudden and they had budgeted, some of them tend to go back. Then there's also the issue of the daily visa, and this is especially in the coast, where when the ship docks in, a tourist gets a daily visa. So if they will go out to a nightclub, they get a visa, then they go back to the ship to sleep. In the morning, if they want to go and have breakfast, they must again pay for another visa. And I think this visa can be put in a way that it's one-off. When you come, it takes maybe a month or so, then it will be better. And these things will be able to improve on tourism. The other thing is infrastructure, especially in some of the game parks. And here I'm looking at the Shimba Hills Game Reserve in Kwale County, that really does deserve improvement on infrastructure, so that when tourists come, they are able to move around the park nicely.
President William Ruto has reiterated that his ambitious development plans for Kenya are achievable, emphasizing key sectors such as infrastructure and health. Speaking on Tuesday during the Lowry Cultural Festival in Turkana County, the head of state assured Kenyans that ongoing and planned projects are aligned with his vision of accelerated national development. President Ruto highlighted the importance of infrastructure development in connecting communities and enhancing economic activities, while also stressing the need for improved healthcare services to ensure accessible and quality care for all citizens.
Hiyo plan ya trilioni 5 tumeanza jana, and by next year we will be halfway. Nyinyi mnanielewa? Wengine wanasema haiwezekani, lakini mimi najua inawezekana. Si walituambia hii barabara tulianzisha ya kujenga kutoka Kitale kwenda kupitia mpaka Nakadoko haiwezekani? Hiyo barabara imekamilika ama bado? Si hiyo barabara tumejenga? Ni kweli ama si kweli? Walituambia walimu kuajiri 1,100 haiwezekani. By January we will have hired 100,000 teachers. Walituambia mambo ya SHA haiwezekani. As I talk to you, wananchi 28.5 million Kenyans are registered in SHA. Nimesimama hapo, watu ambao wanaendesha mahospitali hapa wananiambia SHA is working. Wale ambao wanatuambia SHA is not working is because hawajakuwa wagonjwa. Siku watakuwa wagonjwa ndio watajua SHA inafanya kazi. Nyinyi mnanielewa my friends? Na vile vile nimesema ya kwamba we must build an extra 28,000 kilometers ndio tuweze kujenga zile barabara zote. Huyu Protas amesema kuhusu barabara. Huyu Nicholas amesema kuhusu barabara. Na Buin amesema kuhusu barabara. Hawa waheshimiwa wote wamesema kuhusu barabara. Na tumekuwa tukiongea hiyo lugha miaka nenda, miaka rudi. We need a new plan so that we can deal with the challenges that face our nation in a much more conclusive way. Na hiyo ndio mpango mimi nimetengeneza, na mimi nataka niwaulize ndugu zangu. Haya mambo tutakabiliana na wao. Tutahakikisha kwamba Kenya inasonga mbele. Unajua hii dunia iko watu wa no term, iko ya one term, iko ya two term, na iko ya long term. Nyinyi mko gani? Ate mko gani? Hebu nione kwa mkono wale wa two term, nione kwa mkono. Harambee! 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 Tumeelewana? Tutatembea pamoja?
And Vihiga County Governor Dr. Wilbur Odichilo signed 3 significant bills into law aimed at regulating various sectors within the county. The legislation is expected to come into effect, and guide operations across different industries. Speaking at the county headquarters, Governor Odichilo highlighted that the 2025 finance bill, which has undergone sector-specific amendments, seeks to regulate the purchase of poultry equipment. He emphasized that the bill is part of broader efforts to streamline trade and enhance compliance in the agricultural sector. The other bills signed include legislation governing technical training institutions in Vihiga County, which focuses on the management and oversight of these vocational colleges, and the Public Service Board bill designed to strengthen governance and administrative efficiency within the country's public service sector.
Key areas where we have done some enhancement is in scrap metal collection dealers. That's one area where we have been able to increase the license, because over the last few years we are having a lot of vandalization of government infrastructure through collection of scrap metal. So we thought it as a government is important to make it very punitive, so that the people who get in the scrap metal collection should be people of high integrity. And to be able to do that, we have made the license a little bit more expensive to make sure that we have the right people.
And President William Ruto has underscored the government's commitment to achieving Kenya's 5 trillion rapid national development agenda through deliberate support for public and private investments that align with national priorities. He's speaking during the signing of a 32 billion construction contract between Bamburi Cement PLC and Sinoma CBMI Construction Company Limited at a Nairobi hotel. President Ruto described the new clinker production line to be developed in Matuga, Kwale County as a transformative investment capable of accelerating industrial growth. The president said the project represents the kind of strategic partnership required to strengthen Kenya's industrial capacity and support the delivery of key national programs, including the Affordable Housing Program and major infrastructure developments.
In this context, allow me to situate today's project within our broader 5 trillion bold national ambition to take Kenya to a first world economy, which we have unveiled as a deliberate pathway to achieving Kenya's economic freedom. This national project is anchored on strategic infrastructure development, and I hope, Bamburi, you're listening. Expanded, reliable, and affordable energy, large-scale infrastructure in irrigation through extensive dam construction designed to unlock productivity across agriculture, manufacturing, housing, transport, and services. Through sustained investments in roads, we intend to dual 2,500 kilometers of critical highways. Distinguished guests, the cement industry sits at the heart of this economic freedom agenda. Every kilometer of road, every power plant, every dam and irrigation canal, and every factory depends on a reliable, competitive, and sustainable cement value chain. Projects such as the Bamburi clinker line are therefore not isolated investments. They are foundational catalysts of our national transformation. While the cement sector is central to development, we are equally conscious that it is among the most energy-intensive industries with significant greenhouse gas emissions. The government of Kenya therefore views today's investment not only through the lens of capacity expansion, but also as an opportunity to embed cleaner, more efficient, and low-carbon production technologies. And I have been reliably informed that you have looked into that aspect. We are encouraging improved energy efficiency in clinker production, adoption of cleaner fuels and modern technologies, and strict adherence to environmental health and safety standards across operations. Through the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry and its agencies, we will continue to promote policy coherence, interagency coordination, and partnership that support both competitiveness and environmental responsibility. It is expected to create direct and indirect employment opportunities, support skills development and technologies transfer, stimulate local enterprises across logistics, quarrying, maintenance, and services, and contribute meaningfully to community development and local economic growth.
You're just joining us now. We remember you're watching Morning Live. My name is Jeffrey Kimayosomba, and that story from our president brings Morning Live to a short break. We're coming back with the newspaper review.
Wagwan, ladies and gentlemen, ni aje, it is your boy Mokaya Junior, all up in this place kama kawaida. From the entire fraternity of EBN TV, we want to wish you guys a Merry Christmas and a fantabulous New Year. Tukumbuke, sherehe ni ya festive season, but we still need you guys next year, kwa sababu we want to build this nation together, sawa sawa. So let's party responsibly, let's kumbuka that Jandi anatu protect si wote, so prayer muhimu, sawa sawa, before utoke mtaani, ekelea magoti chini, tushukuru God na tumwambie pia tunaenda leo atu bless. Lakini hiyo isi wasawilishe kupiga sherehe wadau, sawa sawa. Tuonane next year man, itakuwa true.
EBN TV is spreading the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ across the airwaves, reaching hearts and homes all around the world. At EBN TV, we are committed to sharing the good news of our Lord Jesus Christ with the nations. We invite you to partner with us in this great mission to reach the world with the gospel. Together, we can make a lasting difference for the kingdom of God. To partner with us, kindly use the till number displayed on your screen, and that is 88193148819314. EBN TV, transforming your world.
Jehovah ne moreithi wakwa Ajara haga uredhio inyore nyeki duru akadogoria maine mouroko ne ariokagia go.
Good morning once again. This is Morning Life, and we are moving into the newspaper review. And in my hands have gone the Standard, and this is the Kenya's bold newspaper, and the Daily Nation. And before we move on, remember our social media platform, that is EBN TV Kenya across. You can just join us, and we will be sampling your comments and resampling your suggestions immediately after we're through with this. And what is headlined on the Standard newspaper is a questionable fund, and there is a word that is auspicious, that is branded or even painted in red. This is to mean that this is really a fund that is questionable, and this is a big amount of money that is questionable. And as President William Ruto's hyped bottom-up economic transformation model falters with nothing much to show for the last 3 years, the administration seems to have abandoned Mama Boga and is now going for mega infrastructure projects through the so-called Singapore Dream. But despite Ruto selling his new parity strategy as Kenya's way into the first world, financial experts have questioned the creation of a national infrastructure fund and fear it is just another attempt to illegally transfer public assets into private hands. I'll be giving you some numbers so that you can understand what the questionable, why the statement questionable fund. And we have 5 trillion Kenyan shillings infrastructure fund in where Ruto plans to rope in private investors, and we also have 244 billion Kenyan shillings that state targets to raise through sale of Safaricom stake to Vodacom and advance dividends. And Before we move on to the second part or even to the other item on the standard newspaper, we need to think of where this government came from, where the politics of Mama Boga, where the and Boda, where this narrative came from. It was about bottom-up economic model where it was made politically, and that is how that's how it was brewed initially, and that is where all this thought came from. That if we make or even turn this into a bottom-up economic model, it will mean that we shall be lifting those who are living maybe from the grassroots, or even those who are living in deplorable states, or even in very poor states and desperate states of this country, to mean that we shall be lifting them, we shall be taking care of them, we shall consider them economically, we shall provide or even will be granting them some business support to make sure that they become lifted economically a bit. And that's why this narrative moved all through, trickling down to the lowest people we can think of, though they're not really the lowest. But looking at Mama Boga, this takes a bigger percentage of people and women doing this business in this country. Though this narrative being driven all the way to these Mama Bogas, it meant that in a way it will be helping them, lifting them from one level, that is bottom, to the up level, whereby they'll be seeing they're making something from their businesses. And again, from the other political side, it is very clear that you have to do this, you have to benefit from one another, or even it has to be a beneficial or a mutual transaction whereby you're both benefiting from one another. Now, Mama Bogas and Boda guys and people, and actually taking a very big percentage of the voters in this country, and they, in a way, they were duped and they were convinced into understanding, or even into like everyone understanding, that this bottom-up economic model be working for everyone and for the benefit of every Kenyan. But later we're looking at this this kind of pet strategy that our president used to lure these people into voting for him and putting him into the biggest position and working to this country. We see that a lot of people are lamenting, a lot of people are crying, and we are looking at him transferring this pet strategy that he used some good time ago to making sure that maybe it is working for the benefit of himself. And that is where the standard is putting it very clear that 5 trillion is put into infrastructure fund to make sure that President William Ruto plans to rope in the private sector investors. This is to mean that maybe it has overturned and changed, and the dream that our president had for these people who are desperate and who are working maybe in low-coming incomes, that maybe this is not, it maybe brought what I wanted, maybe putting me into power, but later I've checked and maybe seen that this won't be benefiting me any later. And that's why we're so skeptical, so doubtful, and so suspicious that maybe a bigger amount of money is being transferred from the model to maybe our president making more money and transferring public assets into the private hands. This is to mean if this public fund, or even this public private, not public assets, are moved into the private sector, this will mean that it won't be benefiting the public, it will be benefiting private sectors, or even benefiting very key people who are very close into what the president is doing. So every time I mention, and if you sit down and do your calculations, you find that 5 trillion is a lot of money, can do a lot of development. If at all, it's all about empowerment, empowering these people who are so desperate. These people, young people, are not working. And as we saw about the Asla Fund, we also saw about the Nyota Fund, or even program that was just launched some few days ago. This is to clearly mean you have to make sure that these people are coached very well, and you bringing this maybe bringing a kind of comparison from what happened from when our president was campaigning, and the kind of programs that are trying to empower people that is launching every now and then. This is to clearly mean that if you ended up some kind of money to start off a new business, and sometimes you're not enlightened, sometimes you're not sure what you'll be doing, and the money is within yourself. This is to mean we shall be getting a lot of losses as a country, because number one, you're not educated. And sorry for that technical hitch. We're back, and I was saying that before we left, that I'm trying to look at you, just a young person, and you're handed over some kind of money, maybe 50,000, and because you're not aware of the kind of business that you're just working, you just do it as try and error business, and that is when you find we are getting losses as a country. So I was doing such a comparison because these are some of the promises that we get as a people, so that at the end of it all, we are lured into voting into leaders that maybe don't fit leading or even delivering anything to this country. So this is a very big amount, or even a very big picture, or even of a figure whereby this money should be doing a lot of developments for this country. So shifting a pet strategy that our president had initially to a way of him transferring public assets into private sector. This is very dangerous. This is so hectic, and we need to be very careful. And moving on from that story of the questionable fund, we're moving into the national news, where 18 rescued from Russian frontline, and this is a kind of trafficking. 18 families can breathe a sigh of relief after their loved ones who were previously trapped on the Russian war frontline returned home on the 16 of the 18, 16 were assisted by Kenya's embassy in Russia, while 2 notified embassy and found their own way back home. This is a story you can be getting from page 8 of the Standard. And also looking at a cry where help, we are dying. Mr. President, don't turn your back. As the world's deadliest war grinds on Kenya's forgotten sons are bleeding on the Russian front lines, trapped by deceit and abandoned by diplomacy, President William Ruto and Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, who vowed swift action nearly 2 weeks ago, have gone silent as families drown in anguish, begging for news of their children. And we received several inquiries, emails and correspondences from Kenyans in distress in various military camps in Russia. Further, the mission continues to liaise with Kenyans into distress evacuation. This is Peter Mathuki, Kenya's ambassador in Russia, or to Russia. And this is a story that we've been hunting for the longest time possible, where our president and maybe Musalia Mudavadi, who is the foreign affairs cabinet secretary, and we're looking at the state of desperate people, and whereby you taken into Russia's frontline battlefield, or even frontline of the battlefield, and from here maybe you told, or even you are promised a better working environment, you are promised a better pay from what you've been doing. Like example, last week we saw an example of a driver was operating around Raqqa area and he was taken to Russia. But what we saw later is that what he was promised to do maybe in Russia is not what turned out to be. So we're looking at a lot of families. Yes, we are looking at 18 people who came back last week, but we're looking at a bigger percentage, or even a bigger number of people who are still trapped in Russia in the front line of their battlefields. And one thing we checked is that this these people are not well trained. They're just, it's like a crash program. You're just transferred from one place to another. Within 1 week, you're trained fully and you become maybe a soldier, you become an officer in the battlefield, and you're not really trained. So as a country, we've been grappling with a lot of things. We've been lamenting all through. And what we need to learn is that we don't need to take advantage of our people. Yes, we are very desperate. We need work. There are no employment opportunities and vacancies around our region, maybe because of the population that we have, and maybe industrialization is lacking in our country. But there is a better way that we can accommodate within ourselves, and our government can accommodate us instead of taking us into desperate states, maybe in Russia and in other country. So I think as a country we need, and maybe as President and the Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs, it's a very key thing that you need to take care of, that we don't have to maybe sell our people into slavery and maybe trying to salvage from them from situations that are taking place around Russia is something that we need to be so careful of. And moving on with them. Standard newspaper is KDF KNH police jobs scam, due charge of 5.4 million fraud, and prosecutors say victims were lured into paying millions to secure government jobs for their children. The accused allegedly posed as insiders capable of securing jobs at multiple government organizations. And page 3, now part 2 of the second page of the Standard. DCA now widens investigation into Jirongo's death, and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCA, has launched a comprehensive probe into the tragic road accident that claimed the life of former Ligari Member of Parliament Cyrus Jirongo. The incident occurred in the early hours of Saturday, December 13th, along the Nakuru-Nairobi highway at Karai. The collision occurred at approximately 2:19 a.m., resulting in a head-on impact that pushed the deceased vehicle about 25 meters away from the point of impact, while the PSV bus came to a stop approximately 50 meters away, the DCA stated. The intensive investigations come after CCTV footage from the Eagle petrol station near the scene was recovered. The footage provides a minute-by-minute account of the final moments before the crash. And this is a story you can read from page 2 and of the Standard. Bar worker who killed lover in a Nairobi slum pub, jailed for 15 years, and the judge said evidence proved that the deceased died from blunt force trauma. Inconsistent testimony helped prosecutors dismantle a narrative by the accused. And this is a story actually, or this is an ordeal that took place back in 2019, and that the bar attendant killed David Gugi at Matopeni area in Githongoro slums, in Nairobi County. And page 4 of the Standard newspaper, infrastructure fund experts poke holes in Ruto's dream, a story that we did from the top page of the Standard. You can be reading or even cultivating more from page 4 of the Standard. And page 5, privatization plan sparks oversight fears. And as we said also from the top page of the Standard, that the issue of transferring public assets or even for public funds into private sector, and maybe assets that we have as a country from the public domain to the private sector, something that is so worrying, and you have to be very careful, because we also saw the issue of maybe selling some shares, 15% of Safaricom shares into Vodacom, which will be giving us around 244 billion Kenya shillings. The biggest question was, who will be appropriating this money? Who will be analyzing this money? Will be accounting for this amount of money? And how will we know the money will be well used in this country, maybe for the development of this country? So we need to check out very clearly that this issue of privatization plan is something that we need to run against and go against it, because it will be depriving us of what and the rights that we have as a country and what we own as a country from longest time ago. Because think of it, maybe someone or deciding or even to offset public asset, maybe KICC or another property that we have, and pipeline also. And there's something that we found, that's an asset that we found here, and that has been surviving and existing for the longest time possible. What are the implications of this transfer from public asset and or even public assets from public domain to the private sector? And moving on, it's a public, we saw that this is Kilavuka, Mr. Alan Kilavuka, retired, giving way for Captain George Kamal. And page 6, 2 schools in one. Principals brace for complex CBE transition, and secondary schools will operate 2 education systems side by side. Institutions will introduce different uniforms, visually reinforcing the complexity. So this is something that we need to brace for. And we have a transition from 844 education curriculum that is being replaced by the competency based education. And for the issue of maybe transition from 844 to the CBC is an issue that government have to be very careful, or even have to be very sensitive on, because we're looking at how intensivity is maybe financially and physically, because there are some things that has to be done physically, and we also have to see the issue of finances maybe being well appropriated for. And if it's all about capitation, it is something that has to be done so carefully, so that we don't see transition from something that we are used into a new one. Then after we transition, even after we migrated into the new system, we find a lot of challenges there in that we are not able to cope, and we are not able to move well with the new system. And the last story from the Standard: PSC advertises top university post to arrest power vacuum. And that is the last story on the Standard. But before we go, there is 2 stories that we need to do, and this is families happy as 18 kids saved from Russia's death enterprise return home. Yeah, so it is being called an enterprise, and this is about extorting the very poor, exploiting the very poor, exploiting the very desperate. Now, apart from you being taken from your country, where maybe you observe a certain kind of peace, level of peace, where maybe you're able to afford just a small thing on the table, or even a small amount of money, then you are promised something great. It is better you remain in your country. That's why it is being called an enterprise, whereby it's like someone maybe hidden from somewhere, and someone in disguise is making benefit or even advantage of the same, and maybe amassing wealth from maybe taking advantage of the desperate people. Then the last story is President rattled by Kalonzo's growing coalition, analysts saying. And one thing we need to be very careful of when it comes to politics of this country is that you have your space to politic. If at all you're not infringing the rights of another person, or even you're not interfering with the rights of another person, you are not interfering with the space of another person. So if at all politically I have any views that I have maybe, or even I'm vying for any political seat, there is a way that you can campaign within your strength. There is a way you can campaign within how able you are, and make sure that you are not interfering with a piece of another person. We're looking at the kind of sentiments that our president has been maybe speaking or even throwing towards different people, and this is from the opposition side. And we've seen a lot of heckling from maybe the government, or to the government side, and maybe to the opposition side. This is to clearly mean you have your very own opinions, and as a voter you stand out to say that this is the only person who is viable, this is the only person who I'm able to vote in for, and this is a person I believe, but or if not delivered or even done anything, this is the person I believe he can be doing something for me and maybe for this country. So we're looking at the kind of battle of words, maybe from the leaders within the government and from the leaders within the opposition side. So we have to know that you know you are right. You have to know you have your responsibility, and you have your duty to take every role. So there is a way we can use some words that maybe will incite and some words that maybe will brew some chaos within some regions. We have to be very careful because I normally say we belong to one another. So that's story from President William Ruto and Kalonzo's growing coalition, as analysts say, brings us to the story of the Standard. If you need to read more of the same, you can just get a copy or grab a copy of the Standard newspaper. And moving on, this is the Daily Nation. Economic takeoff president has portrayed the kitty as a springboard to Kenya's rise to fast world, and queries over Ruto's 5 trillion funds. And a few days ago, we promised to be a fast world, and we're looking and making an example of Singapore. So in any way, we're moving into Singapore, and there's the journey to Singapore or even to the dreamland started maybe 3 days ago. And the biggest question is, we looking at the political base, we're looking at the political pressures that we have in this country. We're looking at how, if maybe I'm coming into the limelight, it's like I'm looking like there is a way I can compete with maybe the sitting president or even the sitting governor, the sitting MCA, or yes, and MP. There is a way things look like, if I look like I'm burning fiery more than the other person, there is a way maybe I'm stopped from doing that, or even I'm obstructed from doing that. And our dream too, because we have to look at the peace stability in this country. If we just promised to be a first world country, what are the kind of things that we need to look at? What are the strong odds? What are the pillars that we need to see, working in this country, so that if a promise comes in that we will be becoming a first world country, is the promise very true, based on the base and again based on the foundations that we have as a country? So one thing I trust that may bring us to being a first world country is that we need to know that we need to have peace. We need to make sure financial circulation or monetary circulation is moving on very swiftly, and we need to make sure that business environment is very peaceful, and maybe the regulations from this government maybe are the regulations that maybe we can live with, are regulations that we can work with to make sure that maybe we uplift this country, because I believe it is not this government alone that can take this country into a first world country alone. We need the support of everyone. That's why I see it's about a mutual benefit, or even everyone trying to handle this from their side. Though that once we come together, we bring one thing together. So there's queries over Ruto's 5 trillion funds, and it's a big concern that pressed in a tight corner by Kenyans who have rejected tax increases, and with limited room to borrow, President Ruto has resorted to using public money to attract private sector investments in public projects, promising to make Kenya a first world country in 30 years. But a day after the cabinet approved establishment of 2 kitties for the 5 trillion plan, questions have emerged on the formation, utilization, management, and accountability of the funds. The story you can read from page 7, because it's also a concern that we had from the top page of the Standard. So Ruto is saying that we will close the gap between the rich and poor and lay a firm foundation from Kenya's transition to a first world economy. And as I said, the government itself alone does not need, it cannot work towards having a first country alone, but we need the support of each and every person. And there is a narrative where it's a repetitive narrative that maybe took place some 3 years ago or even more. We will close the gap between the rich and poor and lay a firm foundation for Kenya's transition. And I'm looking at whereby we are all rich in this country, and again maybe looking at it in a whereby we are all poor in this country. There is no way we can all be rich, or even the gap between the poor and the rich I don't see how this gap can be closed. The only thing is that if the government be very clear and getting back to the pet strategy of whereby it was all about very clear design and a very clear structure of the bottom-up economic model. I think this is the only how gapping can be done. But I don't imagine taking someone too poor and trying to compare them with someone very rich. So sometimes these narratives brings us into a point of confusion where are the strategies, where are the plans that we maybe the gap between the poor and the rich will be gapped. Okay, that's the story. You can also read from page 7 of the Daily Nation. And DCA probes Jirogo death in Aura crash. Then scene of accident Karai area along the Nakuru highway on December 13. So I'll be just giving you the key occasions or the key happenings that took place on 13th concerning Cyrus Jirongo. And the first thing that we saw is, or the first thing that we've seen is CCTV footage at petrol station near scene where Jirongo died moments ago. And around 18 minutes past 8 a.m., Jirongo's car drives into Eagle petrol station from the Nairobi direction. He did not refuel, and this is maybe like a minute ago, 2:19 a.m. and maybe 10 seconds past. His Mercedes-Benz registration number KCZ350C stops and the station's exit. And Jirongo's vehicle is dragged about 25 meters from the point of impact, and bus stops about 50 meters away. Remember, from the three occasions, we are not told how the accident took place. And around 2:19 and 19 seconds a.m., Jirongo's car turns right, driving back towards the Nairobi direction. And around 2:19, 25 minutes a.m., I remember it's a difference of just very few seconds. CCTV captures Climax Company Limited PSV bus registration number KCU 576A ramming into his vehicle. And the picture from the Daily Nation, it is, remember, this is a head-on collision, but what we see from the picture, you can just grab a copy of the Daily Nation, see what this looks like. It looks like this Jirongo's car was knocked from behind by the Climax bus registration number KCU 576A. So we need to know how this happens, and we shall be updating you on how this will be happening. Remember, from that when this accident occurred, remember, stories has been twisting from one side to the other. So at the end of the day, we shall be bringing you what exactly happened, because we are purposely here to make sure that you are duly informed. 20 governors spend zero on development, says new audit, and 20 county governments did not spend even a shilling on development programs in the first quarter of the current financial year between July and September 2025. A report by the Controller of Budget has revealed despite stalled projects, counties had runaway recurrent expenditure. A story, you can do it from page 10 of the Daily Nation, and there's some things I just want to show you from the same page. And 20 governments did not, county governments did not spend even a shilling on development programs in the first quarter of the current financial year between July and September 2025. A report by the Controller of Budget and Isiolo, Kirinyaga and Buranga counties topped the list of counties that spend the highest percentage of their development budgets, with only 3.69 billion going to development programs. The report, which paints a grim picture of stalled projects in devolved units, showed every expenditure on recurrent activities by governors, raising serious questions about priorities and devolution. The report revealed that Kericho, Tana River, Turkana, Bomet, Siaya, and Trans Nzoia, Baringo, Kilifi, Kwale, Kajiado, Kisumu, Mombasa, Vihiga, Busia, West Pokot, Bungoma, Uasin Gishu, Wajir, Laikipia, and Kisii counties reported zero absorption of their respective development of the financial year ending June 30th, 2026. And this is to clearly show there are a lot of things that maybe are considered when a governor or even a county does not use any coin, maybe the money was not dispersed or even the money was not put into their coffers. And again, we're looking at a lot of money used into paying utilities, and maybe these are salaries and other bills. But what are the key things that a governor should be doing into your place, or what maybe the county government should be doing, or any leader that's supposed to be doing? These may also mean that there are some people who are sleeping on their job, because one of the things that you used to campaign before you're given that position is that you promised a lot of projects development, you promised a lot of delivery to your people. But at the end of it, we are looking at it that you just paid salaries and other utilities, but you did not take care of the developments that you are supposed to do as you are campaigning. So we need to push again and again to make sure that the leaders that we put in place are very key into what we are doing. And the Daily Nation was talking of the 18 Kenyans rescued from Russia battlefield. They're among dozens of Kenyans lured to Russia with job offers, only to be conscripted into the Russian army in the war with Ukraine. Yes, before we left, I was talking of the declaration from the court that co-parenting doesn't mean 50-50 financial contribution. A judge just held that shared responsibility does not imply and even a split of financial costs, but a contribution proportionate to means. A story you can read from page 8 of the Daily Nation. Then page 2, bound by politics and more, stories of Moi, Ruto, Kira, and Jirongo. And this is a story you can do it from, you can get from page 2 and 3 of the Daily Nation. Then page 3, police released new details of Jirongo's fatal crash, from page 4, and special unit targets holiday road chaos. And this is page 5 of the Standard. Then we're looking at 18 Kenyans caught up in Ukraine war, repatriated. We're looking at the picture and the photo of Foreign Affairs CS Musalia Mudavadi on the same. I hope you should be handling some of these cases so that these people get Then the last story of the Daily Nation, rocky start for Ruto's lofty 5 trillion infrastructure plan as oversight queries erased. And that's a story you can read from page 7 of the same. So if there is a story that you need to try and maybe dig more, cultivate more on it. You can just get a copy of the Daily Nation or the Standard newspaper to get more of the stories that we've just highlighted to you. And this morning is a great morning, and as I said, it's a few days to Christmas. We have to be very careful. We have to know how important, how vital we are in this country, and how important you are to yourself and to your very immediate and even to the extensive family. So whatever you do this Christmas season, make sure that you are very careful. And we also know that we have people who are desperate, we have people who are very poor, we have people who are lacking basic commodities, we have people who maybe cannot afford anything for themselves. Remember, we're celebrating the birth of our Savior, Lord Jesus Christ. So what we need to do is the season of sharing. It's a season of maybe giving what you have to maybe someone who does not have, in the effect of sharing to someone, making sure that you spread love to everyone who is lacking. So may this season bring greatness into you. And from EBN TV, we wish you all the best, even as you travel, even as you converse, even as you do any other transaction that you think of doing. May it find you well. May it find favor in yourself, and may God keep blessing you. I'm exiting, but we have a lineup of programs that are so interesting into you, and we beg you and we pray that you keep watching our programs and our bulletins. Thank you for watching Morning Live. My name is Jeffrey Kimayo-Somba. But before I go, let me see whether there are some comments that I have maybe to Sambo, so that I maybe take care of what you did, and maybe I'll do very few. And we've make a good morning following. Thank you for watching. With Diana, good morning. JKS following. Thank you for watching, and good morning. Mike Nyamai, good morning following live.